Good morning, students. In the previous session, we discussed about the advent of Europeans. Now, we are going to see the British conquest of India. British conquest of India. Now, our chapter is British conquest of India. We know that 1500 to 1660s, there are many European companies like Portuguese, Dutch, Danes, French, Britishers entered into India. But Britishers have expelled the Portuguese. Then Dutch also surrendered their settlements. Danes sold off their settlements to the Britishers. Britishers fought wars against the French East India Company. So finally, French also ousted from India. Once they dominated the India's political scene, now Britishers' target is Indian rulers. Now they wanted to involve in the political conflicts of India. Then we must understand the political and social conditions of 18th century AD. In 18th century AD, we have no powerful rulers in India. You may get it out, sir, already Mughals are there. Though Mughals are there, but all the Mughals were later Mughals or weak Mughals. They could not command the entire Indian subcontinent. So absence of great empire is also one of the reason for the entry of Europeans. And second reason is Indian political stage was dominated by the regional kingdoms. But these regional kingdoms had internal conflicts with each other. They made frequent wars. Since they are fighting against each other, they need more revenue resources. So Indian rulers, they squeezed the peasants' income, and peasants were burdened by hefty taxes. Now, peasants were not happy with the Indian rulers. I can say they are not at all loyal to the Indian rulers. They had no affection towards the Indian rulers. That's why when Europeans defeated the local rulers and dominating the India's political scene, and no peasant had objected, and common masses have not objected to the British rule. Then what about the society? You can see the political disunity at the upper level. Then what about the society? Even within the society also, there was no social coherence. When I say society, most of the India was dominated by the villages. You have the villages. We know that Indian villages were divided on the lines of caste. Dominant caste and lower caste. So there was no social cohesion among the various castes. So it is also a reason for the foreigners to enter and dominate the India. Okay. Now, in this system, when Britishers attempted to conquer the India, what the Mughals are doing? What was the condition of Mughals? So, we will see the political rule of later Mughals. So, Mughal history can be broadly divided into two types. Mughal history. Mughal Empire was set up by Babur in 1526. So Babur was the founder. It was continued up to 1707. So, the death of Aurangzeb, this timeline is called as the Imperial Mughals. They were called as the Imperial Mughals. Okay, the death of Aurangzeb led to the disintegration of Mughal Empire. Now, fall of Aurangzeb and until 1857 Sipais revolt. 1857 Sipais revolt, and this period is called as the later Mughal history. Later Mughal history. Okay, we will discuss the Imperial Mughals in medieval India, and the reference of later Mughal history is required to deal with the modern India. Okay, now I will take up the later Mughals history. When I say later Mughals, it is after the death of Aurangzeb in 1707. Okay, now this Aurangzeb, he had three sons. One is Muazzam, and he is the elder one, and second one is Azam, and third one is Kambaksh. Among the three sons, Aurangzeb's favorite son was Kambaksh. Aurangzeb wanted Kambaksh to be the next successor. Okay, but the untimely death of the Aurangzeb created succession wars. Okay, the biggest defect of the Mughals is there was no established principle of inheritance. But in ancient period, most of the Hindu kings, they followed principle of primogeniture, which means elder son of the ruling dynasty will succeed the throne. So here there is no established principle of inheritance. Okay, that's why there was internal wars among the brothers. Muazzam, he defeated Azam, and he also killed the Kambaksh. And finally, Muazzam became victorious, and he came to power with the name called Bahadur Shah I. So his original name is Muazzam. He came to power with the name called Bahadur Shah I. He is also called as the Shah Alam I. So here we have the Bahadur Shah I. He can also be called as the Shah Alam I. Okay. So what was the policy of Bahadur Shah I? He was completely opposite to the Aurangzeb policy. What was Aurangzeb policy? Aurangzeb had rivalry with neighboring kings, neighboring rulers or chiefs of India. Aurangzeb had rivalry with the Sikhs. Example is, in Sikh tradition, we have the Gurus. The 9th Sikh Guru was Guru Tej Bahadur. Guru Tej Bahadur had conflicts with the Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb had caught the Guru Tej Bahadur and publicly hanged him at Chandni Chowk. So, Sikhs are the rivals of Mughals. Not only this, Aurangzeb had rivalry with the Marathas. So, we all know the story of Shivaji Maharaj. And Shivaji Maharaj revolted against the Mughals and made continuous fight against the Aurangzeb. Now, you can see the rivalry of Aurangzeb. Not only this, Aurangzeb had enmity with the Rajputs also. So, your Akbar started the cordial Rajput policy. Akbar maintained a friendly and close relationship with the Rajputs by appointing them in the administration, marrying their girls, and giving the religious freedom, recruiting them in the administration as highest Mansabdars. So he accommodated the Rajputs in Mughal administration. And his footprints were also followed by his sons Jahangir as well as Shah Jahan. But by the time of the Aurangzeb, there was a rupture created between the Aurangzeb and the Rajputs. Okay, now Rajputs are the rivals. Then Jat peasants also revolted against the Aurangzeb. In the central India, also there are some tribal leaders, they revolted against the Aurangzeb. So Aurangzeb created rivals, enemies. That's why there is kind of political instability in the North India. Now Bahadur Shah, he reversed the policy of Aurangzeb. Now Bahadur Shah wanted a kind of policy of reconciliation. Bahadur Shah followed policy of reconciliation. Policy of reconciliation. Okay. Now this policy of reconciliation was followed. So in the name of policy of reconciliation, Bahadur Shah I, he contacted Maratha Peshwa Balaji Vishwanath. Balaji Vishwanath was contacted. Okay, this Balaji Vishwanath requested Bahadur Shah I to release their king Sahu. Who was the Sahu? Sahu was the grandson of Shivaji and son of Shambhaji. There was a battle between the Aurangzeb and Shambhaji, and that battle is Battle of Sangameshwar. In that Battle of Sangameshwar, Aurangzeb defeated Shambhaji and forced him to convert into Islam. But Shambhaji refused it, and he was blinded and tortured, and finally he was beheaded by Aurangzeb. Then Shambhaji's wife Yeshubai and his son Sahu were taken to the Delhi as prisoners. Now Maratha's king was not in the Maharashtra. He was in the Mughals' prison. With the mediation of the Balaji Vishwanath, Bahadur Shah I released Sahu, and Sahu was taken to Maharashtra. And Marathas became the friends of Mughals. As a token respect to the Bahadur Shah I's gesture, Balaji Vishwanath, he barefootedly walked up to the Aurangzeb tomb. Where is Aurangzeb tomb? Aurangzeb tomb was present at Kuladabad, and he paid respects to the Aurangzeb tomb. Okay, that's what about the Bahadur Shah I. Not only this, he maintained good relations even with the Sikhs. So this is what the policy of Bahadur Shah I. Bahadur Shah I was succeeded by Jahandar Shah. Bahadur Shah I was succeeded by Jahandar Shah. Okay. Jahandar Shah, he had no interest about the administration. Then where is his passion? His passion is patronizing the dancers and getting the entertainments and listening to the music, maintaining the prostitutes, concubines. And his period was a great glorious period for the dancers, musicians, artists, prostitutes and the concubines. Okay, contemporary historians, they commented that eagle's nest was occupied by owl. Nightingale was replaced by crow. Here, who is the eagle? What was the eagle's nest?